Caution, The Mark Gungor Show contains adult content intended for an adult audience. And, besides that, he's really weird. Welcome to the Mark Gungor Show with international marriage speaker and author of Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage, Mark Gungor. This is your source for practical, down-to-earth marriage advice without all the over-spiritualization or romantic nonsense. And now the host of the Mark Gungor Show, Mark Gungor.
Crowd goes wild with delirious joy. They've joined the Mark Gungor Show, the show that deals with all things concerning marriage. Indeed, marriage. I'm your host, the one, the only Mark Gungor. Joining me as always, the ever lovely and charming Lady Diane, and of course, the incredible Philip James Gungor. He's wonderful. Oh, isn't he wonderful, wonderful?
That looked just like the face that the Grinch makes when he smiles at the end of the show. On the cartoon version, not the Jim Carrey version. And
during the show, as always,
face for radio.
Wonderfully talented, but incredibly creepy, Timothy Robert Ray, twisting buttons, twisting knobs, and trying to stay awake during this incomprehensibly, immeasurably boring show. This is a show that handles your marital challenges, relational conundrums, and dating dilemmas. I can't talk this morning. That you can email to us at askask@markgungor.com. Here's how the show works. You can send us a question about anything and remain totally anonymous. And then we, of course, are just very brutally honest. Mm-hmm. So send us your emails. Questions about marriage, relationships, dating, money. Money. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah.
Okay, today I will attempt to complete this list.
Oh, yes.
Depends on if somebody decides to talk a lot.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. So
the things married men need to stop doing.
Married men need to stop doing.
Yes.
Okay, number 8.
Thing they need to stop doing.
I think is heresy.
Stop staring at your phone more than you make eye contact with your family.
Heresy. Evil.
This is a struggle for many men because we feel the pressure to be constantly connected to the world.
Okay, now this is not a man problem.
No, I don't think so.
This is just a relational problem.
But see, he's writing this to men, so that's why.
No, I get it, but
yes, but it's a relational problem in general.
Everybody is we're just so enamored by these glowing devices. It glows. That is hard not to. So I've been doing much better. I've been working harder at not doing it. I've been more intentional. And it's like a crack addict.
And your wife said she didn't even notice.
Oh, yeah.
Which was what was so funny.
That was very funny. So I'd go on my way, gone a week without looking at my phone, and once during lunch. And then
and you asked her, did you notice?
Did you notice? What? I didn't look at my phone? Yeah, you did.
She didn't even notice. You're dying here, and she's not even noticing
but it's
your
like,
efforts.
It's like you're jonesing.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there at the lunch table, and I'm getting the shakes. I want to see what's on the little shiny thing.
What's so bad? Because we do that all the time when, we go to lunch together, and then I'm outside of my little work box with regular, normal people, and it is really hard because I know I just can't grab it the way that I do when I'm with all of you, and I have to put it away and turn off the ringer, and it's a difficult.
Oh, I could not do it and not care.
It's difficult. You could do it and not care.
I could shut it off
and
not care.
And that doesn't bother you? Mm-mm. And you just can sit and, no, I'm always thinking about what's on that phone now.
Oh, I know. It drives me a little nuts.
And I can check and there's nothing. There's no notifications. There's nothing, but...
My wife would have a tougher time. Yeah. I give her a hard time.
That's
what
I'm saying. It's not just a male problem.
Yeah, this just list happens to be for
She's
y'all
kind of
men.
a big deal, though, so I understand.
She is. She's a big deal.
She needs to post on my website. She never gets that. She would have so many more thousands of people seeing her little cute posts and fashionista things and stuff. She doesn't do it.
Maybe
She'll probably just get mad at me somehow.
Why?
Well, how come you don't tell me? Or you need to make it happen? Or you need to tell me what to do?
No, you need to show her how to do it.
I know.
Because a lot of people, just because of who she is and her last name, they would, and her little fashion. She got the whole fashion thing. Yeah. She can be posted on there.
There you go.
Several times a week.
Phil.
And because I look at people who like her posts, they're great. 4. Mm-hmm.
Maybe she could get 14 if she put it on your page.
Yeah, I think she'd get a lot more.
Okay.
Anyway.
The last thing y'all men need to stop doing, stop expecting your wife to do everything around the house.
Why not?
Your wife is not your maid. Give her the respect and support she deserves by helping around the house and in all other areas too. Stop. She's not your maid. You want a maid? Hire one.
Well, the truth of the matter is really not about being the maid sometimes. It depends on the guy. Some guys want... I got a brother like that. That's all he wants is a maid when he finds a woman. But a lot of times is that wife is doing things the guy doesn't care.
This is true.
Well, help me do this. Well, who cares if you do that?
But she does.
Well, why don't you do it? Because I don't care. Well, how come I got to do it? Because you care. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, all right. So those are the 9 things. We should recap. Quickly. Number 1, getting more excited about fantasy football than your wife.
Stop it.
Number 2, quit looking at porn. Number 3, zoning out when your wife is talking to you. I have no idea what that is. Number 4, quit getting mad at your kids for doing stuff that you do right in front of them. Number 5, don't be checking out other women. Number 6, quit hiding your wedding ring or taking off your wedding ring. Number 7, giving your career your best and giving your wife your leftovers. Number 8, staring at your phone all the time. And number 9, expecting your wife to do everything around the house. I don't know. Some of these are...
Stop it. That's just because you don't want to stop doing them. That's all. You're protesting because you don't want to be called out for them. That's all.
All right. After all that depressing information, we will be back with your emails right after this break.
Mark Gungor. Yeah, we've got an app for that. Download your free Mark Gungor app today.
Hi, I want to talk to those of you who have teenagers about to graduate from high school in a year or two, or if you are a teenager, I want your attention for a minute. Pay attention. Class, pay attention. Oftentimes in our culture, the way it's set, as soon as you're done with high school, zoom, we send you off into college. And sadly, according to virtually all studies, most of our kids, as high as 80%, which is quite stunning, of the kids who were raised in our churches, went through our entire program, by the first or second year of college, they're totally blown away in their faith. They don't believe anything anymore. How does that happen? I'll tell you how it happens, because we're assuming they're really getting this, really sealed into them, when in fact they're not. They're living off, by and large, their parents' faith. And then they go to these youth groups that are, hot dog eating contests and this and that. And, they pray with them and stuff like that. But it's still, by and large, a lot of it, quite frankly, I have a problem with it, to be honest with you, but let's not get into that. A lot of it tends to be more about giving the kids diversions so the parents will be happy. The kids will be happy. They'll still want to come to church. Keep it anyway. End of the day, they're not really living this. Then we send them off to school, or let's say they really are living it. But then Jesus warns us about the cares of this life and the desire for riches and stuff choking the life out of us. What do we do as Christians? Do we tell them don't worry so much about money? No. You need to worry about money. You got to do everything first. So the first thing, we send them off to college so they can get stuff and get educated so they can get more stuff and stuff. And that blows them away. Many organizations around the country realize this today, and many have instituted what is called a gap year program. We're not the only one. There's several that have been popping up, because it doesn't take a rocket science to realize what we're doing is failing. We need to change what we're doing. We are encouraging young people. Consider a gap year program. That means you go somewhere else for one scholastic year, and you make a decision. We're going to focus on getting into our faith and about learning life before we go running off to college. Mormons do this all the time, and I know a lot of Mormons watch this, but they're not evangelical Christians. We look at things a little bit differently. But you got to hand it to them, man. They're way more committed to their faith than most evangelical Christians. They take 2 years. They're all expected to take 2 years to put God first in their life before they go running off to build their own lives. Evangelical Christians, we can't take 9 months. Then we wonder why we have such bad results. So we've started our own gap year program. It's called Transition 1, where for 9 months, a typical scholastic year, instead of going right from high school into college, you do a gap year. You come, we get you to focus on life, putting God first, put you in service opportunities to learn what life is really about. Really get this sealed in you before you take off into the real world. Check it out. Go to the website, transition1.org, transition1.org.
Hot-head blonde in a tricked out Ford, red round the lights, red on the hood. Red tail light, she stepped out the door. She was dressed to nine with a devil smile.
The music of Jimmy Bratcher. The Reverend The Electric Rev. Check out his music at jimmybratcher.com. Answering your emails. What do you got?
She says, please advise me.
Okay.
I've been married to a wonderful, God-loving man for 8 years. Neither of us watch porn, and we have always had a normal sex life, having sex about every second or third day.
All right.
In the past, my husband would ask for sex, and I would rarely ask, but recently, I have been wanting sex every day.
She wants sex every day.
Yes, sometimes twice a day.
Dang.
I think about having sex with him all day and crave his touch and affection. He is struggling to keep up, and I feel bad for asking him so often. He works long hours as a farmer, and so he is often tired. Do you think there is any way I could increase his sex drive? I would love to know what suddenly happened in me, and I'm wanting it so much.
What suddenly happened in you.
Any advice would help.
If you could bottle that, I will buy it. All right? I don't know why some people just have a boost in their libidos. I have no idea. The reality is, whether you're male or you're female and you're the strongest sexually driven person, at some point, you got to control yourself, okay? But it's okay now because we're married. I know, but, it's okay to eat. But if you eat all day long, it's probably going to be problematic. Just because something is permissible doesn't mean that your flesh needs to be satisfied non-stop. I think it's great. It is enviable. Trust me when I say it is highly enviable to most men to hear of a wife who thinks in those terms. But just because you feel that way, or guys, I want to have sex 3 times a day. Okay, well, my wife doesn't want to. Okay, what should I do? Stop! You don't have... Now, if your wife never wants to have sex or only wants to have sex once a month, your husband only wants to have sex, once a week, or not so much once a week, but every 2 weeks, or whatever. I don't care what it is. It's problematic. Okay, now you got to have an issue, and you need to work that through. You have a normal spouse who's willing to have sex with you 2-3 times a week, and you're going crazy because you want it 3 times a day. What should I do? Take a shower. Control yourself. Good grief.
Just wait. Just think how much you'll enjoy it if you just wait.
And I think it's great that she feels that way, but you got to control yourself.
Life happens. You have to get stuff done if he's a farmer, for heaven's sake.
Usually it's a man who feels this way. It's just the reality. Men are always jacked up all the time. What do you tell these men? Control yourself. You don't have to be satisfying your physical urges 24/7. Now, if you both felt that way and wanted to have sex 5 times a day, good for you. Mm-hmm. But that's generally not. There's always someone who's more interested than the other person. The person who's less interested, I would say, make a stronger effort. The one who's more interested needs to intentionally back it off. Okay? So I don't know. She wasn't like that. All of a sudden she started being like that.
Could be hormones.
Dang.
He wants to try and figure this out. Did you change your diet?
I just think that y'all are just crazy. All of you men, I love that. You wait and see if that actually happened to you. Maybe you'd be complaining like this poor farmer boy that you can't keep up.
Yeah, that's right. We would hate it.
We all have our cross to bear.
We would all hate it.
It might not be as fun as what you think it is. That's all I'm saying.
I'm sure it would be awful.
It would just be awful.
I feel bad for this man.
Oh, stop. You're such a pig. Oh, my God.
I feel very badly for him.
No, you don't.
I do. I'm going to just...
No, you don't.
light a candle for him
You're being awful now.
All right.
You're just being awful. Okay, she says in the subject line, just a messed up situation.
All right.
Ready? Mm-hmm. My husband and I have been married for 6 years. We do not have any children. Within the last year, we had 2 miscarriages. My husband started to become distant, it seemed. One day, he completely ignored all my calls and texts. When he did answer, he explained that work was busy. When he got home that night, he told me that he had been seeing a woman for the last 2 months. He would not give me a lot of details, but what I did get from him was that she was also married and that they had been intimate. He did not say how many times in the past 2 months I was completely brokenhearted, but I knew that I would fight for our marriage and that I would work on forgiving him. He then explained to me that he would not cut off that relationship with this other woman. Now he's telling me that he wants to be with me and make our marriage work, but he wants to have her on the side.
Oh my God.
She feels this way with her marriage and my husband, that she wants to keep her marriage but have him on the side, I guess. He said at this point he just can't choose. This is so completely messed up to me. I don't know what to do. I love him and I want to work through this, but I can't help but feel like I'm competing for my husband's attention. He says I didn't do anything to drive him to this, and other than this affair, we've never had issues in our marriage. This is just not like him. I've known him for 10 years, and he just seems like a completely different person.
Do you think people like this really have no idea how absurd they sound when they write us? I mean, what woman would just continue to let things go on knowing that he has another woman on the side?
Well, she said it's just a messed up situation.
This was messed up, and she's messed up. You kick him out of the house. It's simple. You make him decide. You want to save your marriage? Fine. You don't have to divorce him, but you pull out and you say, hey, make a decision. He wants her. He says he wants her, but he wants the other one. So both of these goofy women give him what he wants. She stays, the other chick stays. I can't decide between the two of you. And both you girls are...
He must be really something. That's all I have
sure
to say.
He's something,
He must really be
probably
something.
really good looking like me,
Oh,
and I
my
can
word.
understand women and tolerate, having all this stuff. What are you doing, sweetheart? Have a little self-respect. Do you have any friends? Maybe these people don't have friends.
I don't know.
Maybe their friends are crazy as they are.
I don't know.
Your husband is out doing the hoochie-coochie with another woman. What do you do about it? You kick him out. Well, I don't know. I kind of want you, and I want to. Stop and think about this. He is with the other girl, and her response is, "Oh, but I want you more." And what can I do to get it? Really? No self-respect. He's an unfaithful pig to you. Now you say, "I love him." Good. That's wonderful. I want to save my marriage. Admirable. I'm all for that. But you don't do that by letting him play this game with you. You kick him out and say, hey, when you decide you want me, let me know. We'll work through the issue but we're not playing this game. You are letting him treat you as there's some women that let men beat the snot out of them physically. Mm-hmm. There's other women who let their husbands curse and verbally abuse them. And then you got women like this. And I don't know what's wrong with some of you girls. I just don't get it. Your answer, you kick him out. You do not let him treat you this way.
But they're afraid if they do that he will choose the other woman.
That's their problem. They're all fear. I can't leave him. He beats me, but I can't leave him.
Yep.
He curses at me. Yeah, but if I leave my guy...
Because she thinks that if she issues this ultimatum and says, no, it's her or me, she's fearful that he will choose
You
the
can't
other
live
woman.
in fear. It's absurd. How about being fearful of being treated this way? And here's the absurdity of it. You stay like this, they don't change. Your only chance of change is to confront him. You move out, or you kick him out, and you tell does his family know he's doing this? I'll bet you anything. She hasn't told anybody. Money says.
I would guess not.
Money says. His mom doesn't know. His dad doesn't know. His brothers and sisters doesn't know. Their pastor doesn't know. Their friends don't know. They all play this stupid secrecy game. And she'll write someone like me anonymously. You tell everybody. You kick him out and you tell everybody what he's doing. That way everybody knows. Because most people, even non-Christian heathens, would think this behavior is absurd.
But, like that idiotic movie that we were all watching the other night, where he was torn between the two women, that's what they see. And they think, I want to be the one he chooses. And they watch these dumb
Remember
movies.
last night?
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
No, because she hung around waiting, and he was torn between the two.
In the movie, inside the movie, the story inside the movie.
Yeah.
In the reality, she didn't put up with it.
But
she
still
didn't
took him
tolerate
back in the end.
because he made a commitment to her. At that point, I've left the other woman. I want you. You're okay.
For how much of it he couldn't decide. But I want her. No, I want her.
But
And there's
what
this
did
one,
she
and there's
do?
that one. Yeah.
I thought it was a great thing. She says, "Forget it. I'm not playing this game with you."
It was great when she said, forget it. It stunk when she took him back because he is a
That's
piece of...
because you're a bitter old lady.
No, that's not!
Were you guys watching Star Wars, by the way?
No.
No, not Star Wars.
No. He was a liar. He was a gambler. He was ridiculous. He was sleeping with
Understood.
two of them at the same time.
No,
and
he
the other.
wasn't at the same time. What movie were you watching?
I'm sorry. Yes, he was.
What? He was not. He was the one, the was a girl that had left him. He was trying to get her back. Wasn't at the same time.
No, in the movie within the movie, it was at the same time.
The movie within the movie was absurd. It was comical. What movie are you reading?
No, I'm just telling you that these girls watch this stuff, and that's why they are the way they are. Because in the movies,
I don't know why they're the way they
No,
are. Quite frankly, I don't care why they are.
I'm telling you.
They need to stop. A little self-control, a little self-respect. You tell everybody. You let his friends know, his parents know, his cousins know. Man, I'm all for taking out a billboard in your neighborhood and putting up on the billboard what he's doing. For heaven's sakes, you don't tolerate this. And you say, I'm not going to play this game. I have some self-respect. You either, listen to me. If you don't value you, all you girls, listen to me. If you don't value you, don't you dare expect somebody else to value you. You understand? If you don't respect you, don't expect a man to respect you. Don't whine if a man doesn't respect you. You have to respect you. You have to have value for yourself. You need to treat yourself with some modicum of decency. And if you don't whine and complain that others don't. And don't think writing me or anybody else is going to fix your dysfunction. You need to have some self-respect. You have a man who's cheating on you. You don't stay in hope that you can outwin the other girl. That is absurd. And that's all I got to say about that. He's an angry elf. Take a break. We'll be back with more.
Attend Mark's Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage event. Visit laughyourway.com for upcoming dates and locations.
We tried our best and we made a mess of the thing that they call love.
That sounds familiar. You're back on the Mark Gungor Show, talking about love, marriage, and relationships. Answering your emails. What have you got there?
Okay, I have to choose between these two. It's one about sex and one that has nothing to do with marriage really at all.
All right, let's do the one about marriage.
Okay, not about marriage at all. She says, I've been working as a missionary for the last 3 years at an organization based in the United States fighting for social justice.
All right.
The organization is changing and growing, which is good. I just don't want to go with them. I don't like the new leadership. I don't like what I'm doing, though I still believe in the cause. I'm glad for the years I invested, but now I want something more stable and peaceful. My question is, am I being selfish for choosing to leave missions because I don't like it, or it's not what I want? I don't know what I believe in the traditional calling business. I do think God brought me to this organization for the last 3 years, but now things are changing. I realize I want something else. I feel like the doors are closing for me. God's giving me the opportunity to leave, but I wonder if I just feel that way because it's hard now or because my heart is somewhere else. Thank you for any advice you can give.
I think you should just keep doing what you hate doing for the rest of your life.
I do. Why not?
Diane does.
Just keep
every day. Stupid show. No, sweetheart, if you don't like what you're doing anymore and you don't like the leadership and you think your organization is psycho crazy wacko and you'd rather do something else, then go do something else. What are you going to spend the rest of your life? You know how many people, I was reading a thing the other day, things that people hear, like hospice nurses on people's deathbeds.
Yeah, I had seen that too.
And one of the major things is just regret for the way that people live their lives.
Yep.
Now, I have no intention of being on my deathbed and going, I wish I'd lived my life differently.
No.
Well, I've got some things I wish I probably hadn't have done. Well, I'm sure of that. A few things I hadn't have said. I mean, we all have our regrets, you know what I'm saying? But
that you spent your whole life doing
I wish I would have done something else. What the?
Yeah.
What kind of way is that to die? That's awful.
Yes.
Do not be one of these people on your deathbed saying, gee, I wish I would have been with another organization because I hate the one I'm with. Look, it's perfectly legit to move on. And she's a missionary, so let me give you a biblical, scriptural example. Being a man of God that I am, and this will be helpful to her. Because you think, and obviously, they think sometimes they feel guilty they should do it, and oftentimes the people in charge of the organization will put biblical phony guilt on them that you need to be committed and pick up your cross and everything isn't easy. You know what I'm saying? But look at Paul and Barnabas. These two served God in Paul's first missionary journey. At the beginning of the second missionary journey, they couldn't agree. They just couldn't agree. So Barnabas went off and Paul went off. Two different, the Bible doesn't condemn either one of them. sometimes people just don't work together well. So if that's you, your organization's changed. You don't have to feel guilted about it in any way, shape, or form. I would encourage you at the earliest possible opportunity to get out of what you're doing and go find something that you're passionate about, that you do love. It's perfectly biblical. There's no example in the scriptures where you have to get stuck doing something in your life that you don't want to do. Okay? Think of Paul and Barnabas. They good example of sometimes you just move on. Having said that, we're going to move on to this break. We'll be back right after this.
Caution, the Mark Gungor Show contains adult content intended for an adult audience.
She got long blonde hair and a sweet disposition. You ought to see what she does in the kitchen. Grits and gravy, chicken too. My baby even cooks me barbecue. I love my baby. Yeah, I love my baby. Yeah, I love my baby. My baby loves me.
The music of Jimmy Bratcher on the Mark Gungor Show. Someone just asked a question. How long will you be married at your next anniversary?
Yeah.
And because you've been married 42, so will you be 43? I said, well, I've been married 42. The jury's out if I make it to 43. She might dump me before then. Who knows?
She might kill you before
She might kill me
then.
in my sleep. Mm-hmm. All right. What do you got?
Okay, this is about money. Simple things you can do to stop fighting over money with your spouse.
Okay.
Because apparently people argue about money.
Yes.
They say, after you tie the knot, we highly recommend getting a checking and savings account to combine all of your money. The two become one, so why should you have separate bank accounts? That's their advice.
Okay.
You have discussed many times that you don't necessarily feel that it's
I don't know. Maybe it's why. Sometimes, and even in the show, I mean, I'm totally open to the idea that, if it's not relevant for people, if we don't have the answers,
Yeah.
Not to have to. I'm just saying it's just never been a big issue in my life. But we talked about this on the last show that I don't have traumatic money issues in my past. Phil doesn't. You don't. So I don't know. Maybe
But people do.
Maybe that's why it's hard for us to relate to some of the things that people struggle with this. I don't have a problem with. I've heard this advice. They should have the same checking accounts at all times. I don't have a problem with having separate. It depends on how you work the thing out.
Well, because if they're saying this is how to stop fighting over money, believe me, there's a lot of people with combined accounts that still fight over money, and there's people with separate accounts who don't fight over money.
Yeah, I don't know how that fixes anything, to be honest with you. I guess it becomes the issue of hiding. We shouldn't be hiding stuff from each other anyway. My wife and I have different accounts. Well, I've got the main account because I make way more money than she does. And so I pay everything out of that, and then and our savings, investments, out of all of that. And she has her own little thing, and she can do anything she wants with it. Now, granted, a lot of couples don't have that luxury. Mm-hmm. Everything everybody makes is necessary for survival.
Yes.
I guess I can see that. Let's have the one account and always check with each other because we are in survival mode. Mm-hmm. Now, we used to be in survival mode, and that's what we did. There was just the one account, and we survived and barely could make it from 1 week to the other. So I get that. But again, I think just the circumstances of where you're at in life, how well you communicate about it. I don't know that necessarily just having whatever number of accounts is the answer. I guess it depends on the context of where you're at on it. So.
Okay, the next simple thing they say you can do is to set up a budget for each month and make sure you both agree to sticking to this budget. If this is the first time budgeting, trust us, it will not go smoothly. You will have some heated arguments, but it will make your marriage stronger instead of ruining it if you can pull this off.
I agree. I think you need to make a plan and stick with the plan.
Do you run a budget, Phil?
Sort of. Yes, but we're not like...
Budget Nazis.
We never did.
Mostly because,
We didn't have any money to make a budget. Everything was survival mode. But there again, I didn't have a wife who just went out and started buying stuff at JCPenney's like crazy.
Yeah.
What I can say within the budget? Well, yeah, but I mean, again, I guess this is why I'm not particularly helpful sometimes in these areas because we just never experienced it. We just were normal people. When you're in survival mode, you shouldn't be spending more money. Now, I don't have I think it's a great idea that people would have a budget. Mm-hmm. Great, and I don't have any problem with people fighting over what that budget should be. It's fine. Do whatever. A lot of times you get to solutions by having arguments. I'm all for arguing. So I think it's great advice.
To have the budget.
And when we did first try to do it, it was quite difficult. It just depressed my wife. Mm-hmm. But she just doesn't like thinking about money. And then that's when I realized, because everyone tells you to do this thing together, that doesn't always work either.
No.
She just wanted me to do it.
Yeah.
And tell her.
Yeah, you do it. You tell me what I have.
And it just stressed her out.
You know, that's a great point.
Yes.
A lot of times this marital advice, I've seen this. And I don't do these kinds of marital advice. Mine's pretty basic and simple. But you'll have these people very thoughtful. And I've actually seen it cause more problems than solutions.
Yes.
Now, if it doesn't, good for you. And I'm not against people doing budgets, but I think here's an exact point. Here, and I would dare say that my wife and I were always like this. And at times it varied in our lives. There was a point where I gave her all the money decisions. I just couldn't handle it. I was so stressed out just trying to get to work and make my business survive. You know, I couldn't handle it, so I gave it to her, and she did a great job. But I wasn't spending money crazy on the side with it. You know, a lot of these things become problems because someone is always breaking the rules. You know, for his wife say, I hate dealing with it. You just make all the decisions. I think that's fine. But I don't know. I went to so-and-so's class and they said husbands and wives have to do this. I don't know. I think sometimes that stuff, if it works for you, great. If one person is willing to take the issue and just deal with it, I don't think you have to sit down and work out the budget together per se. It really depends on the couple. So I think that's a great insight because I think there's a lot of people like that. They don't really care. Now, if your wife says, I don't want to deal with it and let you deal with it, but then you want to spend half your paycheck on crazy, well, now you got a problem. So, but then that has more to do with crazy than the budgeting process. So, I don't know. Great idea. You can sit down and argue out your budget. Fine. If you're the kind of people who one is willing to surrender to the other and you just deal with it, I have no problem with that either. So.
Were you finished, Phil? Was there something else you were going to say?
I'm all done.
Okay.
Next.
The next one says, now you have the budget, you have to follow it. And do not overspend. We're all sometimes guilty of this. It is not easy, but with practice and determination, it is very possible. $5 here and there adds up pretty quickly, so be careful about your spending.
That's wise.
The trickiest thing with, and I don't really have a solution here, but the trickiest thing I found
like me
with the budgeting is it seemed pretty easy for the day-to-day kind of steady things. You know, you've got your bills, you got your food, and which is you have 4 children, that keeps growing. But it's all the other things that I had the toughest time with. And that's when I just kind of stopped stressing with it. Like, you know, trying to figure out exactly how much you're going to spend in maintenance or this. Like, certain people go through and hit every little thing. But it's like, I just keep thinking, I don't know. How am I supposed to know that my car is going to like...
I agree. I don't know. I think you can set up a savings account, I guess, and put in $20 every month to the car maintenance account.
Well, that's what some people do, and then that's when my mind starts to...
That's the way that I actually have it set up. I mean, I have it so categorized and subcategorized, but I do it all quick and online.
Oh, you do?
You know, yeah. Okay. So then when I have receipts, I enter it. So I know how much money, and I've assigned a receipt to a category, and then I know how much is there. So, like for my dog, let's say
the dog account.
I allow so much for my dog to take care of all my dog stuff. But say she didn't have to go to the vet, and after 6 months through the year, there's an extra $200 sitting there that I haven't used. Then I'll just roll that over and stick it into something else.
Or you can do what I do for the dog account: is you take the dog out in the country and you fetch, and then you hit the gas. And you drive away.
It's awful.
Well, it saves a lot of money, though.
Yeah, I will admit, I'm just looking forward to her going home and to her eternal rest on the farm.
I know. I keep telling my cat.
And
I'm always impressed with people like you.
I mean,
I've got a friend, the same thing. Like, he knows how much... Like, oh, this is how much I have to watch movies this month or this. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy freakazoid about it where, you know, it's like, well, it's over. And then next month I'll just try to go under or I'll, you know, take it from something else and put it there. But I kind of do track and know where all of my money goes. Because if I don't, then it's like, oh, let's buy this. Oh, let's buy that. And it's like, he says that $5 here and there and $25 here and there. And all of a sudden it's like, gosh, where did all that money go? So I keep track of it. And it takes some time. I mean, I'll sit down on a Sunday afternoon with a pile of receipts and my Quicken on my computer, and it takes a while.
It depends on how detailed. I mean, I would say, from a Christian standpoint, you tithe, you give, you set aside X amount of money that I give. I have X amount of money that I save or invest or whatever.
Yes.
And then you have the rest. You just live off the rest. Does that nothing? They don't buy anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't break it into
But the hard thing is when you
of-
have a debit card or a credit card, and it's like, well, you just use that. And you don't realize how much money you have spent or whether you have enough.
Well, one thing's clear. If you want a lot of money, don't spend any.
Yeah. Are you guilty of spending more if you have cash or more if you use the plastic?
It doesn't seem to make any difference to me.
It doesn't matter to you?
I don't think
Because
so.
they generally say that plastic is more
spend
dangerous.
more.
For me,
Yeah.
it's cash. If I have that paper money, I'm awful. I will spend it way more than pulling out that credit card. But I'm a very unusual person.
I don't know. I think some of this advice, it shouldn't be the kind of thing that now it's making your relationships worse.
Right.
Because I don't know, maybe all this financial advice is why people argue about money.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't understand.
Well, at least
these
you can
things.
try some of these things.
If you're having problems,
Yes.
then here's some possible
Yes.
solutions. I wouldn't say this is what everybody has to do.
No. If you
my
have no
wife and
money
I have
issues,
never sat down
just leave
and
it.
did a budget.
Yeah.
My wife and I, it's varied because, in our life, it's just either we could barely make it from week to week or we had more than enough. I prefer the latter greatly over the former. I promise you. But I don't know if you live in that in between where everything is you got to constantly balance everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do whatever you got to do to make it work. Ours is much simpler. Give, save, and then you spend and hopefully if you spend less, you start leaving more in your checking account.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So how detailed it's got to get, I don't know. Anyway.
It depends on your circumstance.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
All right, more rambling about money, which probably was helpful to no one. I don't know. I think somebody's probably getting help from this. We'll take a break and be back with your dating questions right after this.
Want more of Mark? Visit markgungor.com. There you will find everything that Mark has to offer.
Start the music, play this song, and we'll dance together all night long.
The music of Michael O'Brien. Beautiful relation. If you like warm and fuzzy relationship music, that's the guy to get it from. He's really great. He's a great musician.
Fabulous.
Michael O. All right.
Okay, she says, I am a Christian and hear you talk about the importance of women not waiting until 30 to have children.
Yes.
I'm 27, going on 28 soon. Getting married in less than 2 months, but working full-time, going to the university part-time, and I have at least 2 more years before completing my degree. And then I can get a better job. My fiancé and I wanted to save money for the next 3 years or so that we could have a house, and then we thought about having kids. So I'm talking about waiting about 4 or 5 years. I'd be 31 or 32 to have my first child. Should we not wait? Wouldn't it be immature and unwise to have children before we are somewhat stable financially and in the lifestyle of our marriage? I appreciate your response, whatever it may be, she says.
Here's the thing. You don't know you can have children at 32.
Yes.
You don't know. I don't know. You might be able to have children at 58. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just telling you. There's this big clock ticking in your body. And your body does not care that you wanted to wait financially. Here's what I think is so... First of all, she's, 27? Mm-hmm. The bulk of human history, people have already had their families by then. Mm-hmm. This new generation now is they're moving this huge time clock that is just bizarre. So she isn't irresponsible. Irresponsible? Good Lord. We're done having our babies at 24. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what these people are doing. Anyway, you might be fine. I don't know. I tell you what I think is, don't be shocked if you having a real hard time getting pregnant. Do you have any idea how many women your age, at that age, are having a hard time getting pregnant? There's women in their late 20s that have a hard time getting pregnant. Every time you have a period, you're losing what? One of your eggs.
Yep.
I
have that number. I'm trying to find it quick.
They're gone. then you cry and you pray and you want someone to lay hands on you and God, give me an answer to prayer. And then I've seen couples, you know how many couples do what you do? They try to get all their finances together. And then they got all that. So now they're, 35, whatever their age is, and they start having babies, and they can't. Then they spend a fortune in fertility treatments trying to get pregnant. Now, what was the win in that? You saved up all this money first so that you could have the money and do as you say, be responsible. Then you hit $31, $32. You can't have babies, and after 4, 5, 6 years, you're so frustrated. Now you're going to take all that money and blow it away. What was the win there?
By age 30, only 12% of a woman's eggs still remain.
There you go, baby.
12%.
And they say there's just a higher chance for complications because when we had the last one, Kirsty was going to be 35 by the time she had it, and they treated us like
high risk.
We were geriatrics at 35.
Yeah, you have no idea. You, sweetheart, and the millions of girls today who think like you are a little delusional is all I got to say. But it's more responsible. Yeah. Well, listen, if you're okay not ever having babies, then keep doing what you're doing. And if you can have them and you're willing to blow all the money that you saved and earned trying to have them, okay. I'm not telling you have to do anything. You want advice? Wisdom says you should have already been married and had your babies already. That's the smart thing. You're doing what the contemporary world is doing in your age, which your generation is just, I want to say a word I get in trouble for, but they're just throwing away. There's another version of saying that. Throwing away their 20s. No, I'm not. I'm educated. No. You think life is going to wait for you, your generation, just because you're so cute and because you're focused on education and career, and that's going to be. I'm telling you, your physical body was never designed to do what you guys are doing. It's just not. Chances are you will be among those girls that will be praying and crying and struggling to get pregnant. I don't know that. You might get married, and at 31, boom, you could be giving birth to triplets. Fine. Then you can write me and say, see? Look, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying, what are the chances? 90% of your eggs are gone already. Already gone. Every time you have a period, there goes another one. Oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. And it is what it is. And those people get mad at me, but don't get mad at me about it.
It is what it is.
And do you know, statistically speaking, they say the chance of you living to 100 doubles if your mother was younger than 25 when she gave birth to you. I mean, long life is actually tied to how young your mother was. It's not in the DNA for you guys to be waiting so long. And I feel bad for you that you live in such a psycho culture that is encouraging this nonsense. But we have a culture that doesn't value children. It values money more than anything. And if nothing else, you can always adopt some kids, I'm cool with it. Look, I'm not saying you have to do anything. What I'm saying is don't get upset if your heart is being ripped out on a platter because you can't be a mommy now and give birth to your own child. You want to have your own child? Here's my advice. Marry the boy in the next couple of months and start trying to get pregnant. You might be shocked. And who really struggles with women who maybe have been married, been taking birth control pills.
Yes.
You've been taking birth control pills for 10, 15 years, and you quit, and you think just like that you're going to get pregnant? Reality check. Now, some do.
Some do.
The minute they do. But I'm telling you, may the odds ever be in your favor. To quote the Hunger Games, the odds are not good for you. But like President Snow, may the odds be ever in your favor. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Have a marriage dilemma? Email your questions to ask@markgungor.com, and Mark can answer them during one of our shows.
Fish won't bite and I don't care. I'm still gonna sit right here.
We're back, and I am sitting right here. What do you got?
She says, my question is about race preference when it comes to dating and marriage. I have a few girlfriends who are
mean
not
like NASCAR
attracted. Yes,
or
that's right.
Formula One?
Formula One?
Horse racing, yes.
Horse racing.
These girls are not attracted to their own race or culture. They prefer a specific race or culture for their potential husbands. I believe that the color of someone's skin, nationality, or culture as a preference is somewhat superficial. We are all single and in our mid-30s. Sometimes I want to tell them the reason they are not married yet is because they turn guys away or won't consider a guy because of his skin color. Just wanted to know from you guys, can this type of preference hinder or prolong a person from getting married?
Being picky absolutely will prolong you from me. But I don't have a problem with someone saying, I want to marry someone of a certain... You say, well, it's superficial. This might come as a shock to you, but the whole process is rather superficial.
Yeah.
Marriage, initially, is one of the most self-centered things anyone will ever do in their lives. I like the way you make me feel. It's all about you and what that person thinks it does for me and how
I like how tall
feel.
he is. I like how her butt
And when we
looks.
hold hands and what a butt she has and oh my gosh. And the whole thing is based almost entirely, purely in selfishness, which is fine. But then once you say I do, you got to start learning to let go. And that's the process. And that's why a lot of people are so miserable in their marriage. They get to a point they don't want to let go anymore. Listen, you need to learn to die to yourself as part of the... It's one of the most beautiful things about marriage is it really helps you live out your Christianity because you're supposed to die to yourself. And I always tell people there's no more perfect institution designed to kill you than marriage because you can't do it and be selfish. So you say, well, they're being selfish. Of course they're being selfish. But everybody is. You generally don't marry people that make you want to vomit. You generally don't date people that you can't stand and they smell. You don't like the way they're too short, they're too fat, they're too tall. They're, they're really perfect, but they got a nose, 3 feet long. Most people don't pursue people they don't like. I don't care if they prefer someone who's black, orange, yellow. Obviously, most women in the world would prefer a Puerto Rican man. This is clear. Without question. All right. But so what? I don't think that's problematic. What is problematic is being so picky that they keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And your admonition to your friends that's why you're not married and you're going to stay this way if you don't quit. That's true.
Yes.
But I wouldn't get too hard on them. I would just say don't be so picky. I want a black guy and I don't want to marry a white guy. Okay. But it depends on your options. For example, if you're in Alaska and you want to marry only a black guy, your chances are going to be pretty limited. If you're in Africa and you only want to marry a white guy, your options are fairly limited. You know what I'm saying? It's just life. Now, if that's what you want, I don't have a problem with that. Just don't be surprised if you don't always get what you want. But my main advice is, don't be so picky. Some people are, I always say, if you don't like something about someone, move on. On the other hand, I'm not saying perfection. Some people are so picky, they never get married because they always find, I don't like the way he scratches his nose. Really? Anyway, all right, you guys. Have a fabulous day. We'll see ya.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.